He didn't panic. He didn't run. He didn't break the rules. At 2:17 in the morning, a calm male voice called emergency services from somewhere underground beneath a public facility in the United States. The operator later described the caller as composed, clear, professional. He identified himself by name, by badge number, by department. He said he had discovered materials stored below a municipal redevelopment site that violated federal containment standards. Then the line went silent. By sunrise, the caller officially did not exist. This story is inspired by real investigative failures, documented institutional patterns, and reconstructed events. Names and locations have been altered. What you are about to hear is not speculation. It is how systems make people disappear without ever committing a crime. The town was ordinary in every way that mattered. Midwestern, quiet, clean. It was the kind of place that believed rules solved problems. Permits were respected, inspections were trusted, documents were sacred. Nothing dangerous ever happened here. At least, nothing that made it into the records. Evan Cole had worked for the town for 14 years. He was 42 years old, divorced, no children. He lived alone, paid his taxes early, and believed deeply in procedure. Evan wasn't ambitious, he wasn't political, he didn't want attention. He believed systems existed to protect people as long as everyone followed the rules. That belief would cost him everything. On a Tuesday morning, Evan received a routine assignment, a final safety inspection for a redevelopment project on the edge of town. The site was scheduled to become a public park within weeks. New playground equipment, fresh grass, walking paths. The paperwork looked clean, too clean. Evan had learned over the years that when a file looked perfect, it usually meant someone else had already been nervous. The first irregularity was minor, a discrepancy between excavation depth and foundation diagrams. Nothing dramatic, but Evan logged it anyway, because that's what inspectors do. The second irregularity came later that afternoon. While reviewing archived permits, Evan noticed that an older industrial license tied to the land had been marked as resolved without a closure inspection. That was unusual. Resolved licenses usually left a trail. This one ended abruptly. No photos, no sign-off, just a digital stamp. Evan returned to the site after sunset, not because he was required to, because he wanted clarity. Using an access hatch hidden beneath temporary flooring, Evan descended into a narrow concrete shaft. The blueprints did not mention it. The contractors claimed ignorance later, but the shaft was real, and it led somewhere deliberate. At the bottom, Evan found a rectangular chamber. Sealed barrels lined the walls, industrial grade, incorrect labeling, stored beneath a residential redevelopment zone. That alone was a federal violation, but what unsettled Evan wasn't just the barrels, it was how carefully they were hidden. He photographed everything, measured distances, recorded coordinates. He knew exactly what to do next, because procedure told him. At 2:17 in the morning, Evan called emergency services. Not a supervisor, not a journalist, emergency services, because that was the correct channel when public safety was at risk. He spoke calmly. He explained where he was, what he had found, and why it mattered. He explained that if he did not return to the surface, the site needed to be sealed immediately and investigated federally. Then the call ended. Evan never came back up. When morning arrived, Evan's truck was still parked near the site entrance, unlocked. His wallet sat on the passenger seat. His badge lay beside it. His phone was gone. The initial police report listed him as missing. Voluntary absence. That classification matters. Voluntary disappearance means fewer resources. No alerts, no urgency, just paperwork. Evan's sister filed a missing person report by noon. She was told adults are allowed to leave. She was told there was no evidence of foul play. She was told to wait. 48 hours later, the redevelopment site was sealed. Fresh concrete, new permits, no public notice. The irregularities Evan documented were reclassified as clerical errors. Requests for jurisdiction bounced between agencies. Local authorities deferred to state. State deferred to federal. Federal deferred back to municipal oversight. No one was responsible. which meant no one was accountable. Journalists attempted records requests. Most were denied. Some documents had been recategorized. Others were missing entirely. A few had never existed according to the system. Within 3 weeks, Evan Cole's employment file was marked inactive, not terminated, not deceased, inactive. Years later, an investigative reporter noticed something strange. Evan wasn't alone. Across 3 different states, over 2 decades, a pattern emerged. Municipal inspectors, environmental compliance officers, infrastructure auditors, all with clean records, all flagged irregularities tied to redevelopment projects, all vanished, resigned abruptly, or had their credibility quietly dismantled. None of their cases involved visible violence, no suspects, no arrests, no scandals, just administrative silence, because institutions do not erase people violently, they erase them procedurally. No laws were broken, no warrants signed, no orders issued. Each step followed protocol, each decision justified, each file closed correctly. Evan Cole is still listed as missing. The redevelopment site he inspected is now a public park. Families gather there, children play there. No one knows what lies beneath the grass. And that is the most unsettling part, because Evan did everything right. He followed the rules, he trusted the system followed procedure, and that is why he was never found.